Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Hello and welcome to another special episode of NSE Finwiz Season 6, powered by CNBC TV 18. I'm your host, Gautam Srinivasan, and as always, we are here to help you understand the concepts behind personal finance and wealth creation. Our next pit stop is in Pune at the headquarters of Praj Industries, an organization that develops technology-led solutions for a sustainable bioeconomy. Let's take a look.
Established in 1983 with the objective of providing cutting-edge solutions to distillery industries, Praj Industries claims to be India's most successful company in the field of bio-based technologies and engineering. What started off as an entrepreneurial venture 3 decades ago is today working towards making the world a better place. Praj Industries is providing a bouquet of sustainable solutions for bioenergy, high-purity water, critical process equipment, breweries, and industrial waste treatment. Spread across 5 continents and 75 countries, Praj offers innovative solutions to significantly add value in bioethanol, biodiesel, brewery plants, and related wastewater treatment systems for customers worldwide. This week, NSE Finwiz is at Praj Industries campus in Pune to discuss personal finance and wealth creation.
I would like to ask the experts the percentage of the investment based on the government policies and RBI, how we need to change our investment portfolio.
I am hoping to understand how I can create balanced investment portfolio, and also hoping for how I can make investment so that I can get tips related to early retirement planning.
I would like to know more from the experts. Financial experts can help individuals like me to improve our investments and strategical implement and maintenance of portfolio. So what is the diversified investments are required for individuals like us, considering the dynamic market. So this is what we are expecting, and we will see how best we can extract from the experts.
The young people who are right now earning their income, naturally they need to plan how they would like to see their finances getting invested or getting spent for that matter over a period of time. Naturally, it is driven by the objective related to financial terms, the way in which they would like to achieve going forward. Fortunately for them, the avenues which are available to invest their funds are multifold. But how to invest, where to invest, why to invest, what kind of terms they should get into, I think they need to plan it properly.
Welcome to NSE Finwiz Season 6, powered by CNBC TV 18, continuing with our journey about investing in yourself, your path to prosperity. Our next pit stop is in Pune at the headquarters of Praj Industries to discuss personal finance and wealth creation. And of course, we have with us 2 experts to discuss that. Nikhil Kothari and Feroz Aziz join us to give us their insights on the topic of financial planning. And of course, the employees of Praj Industries are here for an exchange of ideas with our guests. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Let's start with the topic of investing in mutual funds. Give us a primer on the options which are available for the folks here when it comes to investing in funds.
Okay, so a lot of people believe mutual fund is equities, but I'll say mutual fund is not equities. It's a vehicle to invest in different asset classes. So through mutual fund, you can invest in equities. Through mutual fund, you can invest in money market called as debt instrument. Through mutual fund, you can invest in debt mutual funds. Through mutual fund, you can invest in gold. And in future, through mutual fund, you can invest in real estate also. So mutual fund is just a vehicle to invest in different asset classes. So when you're investing in mutual fund, first you need to decide that where I want to invest my money. Do I need this money for a very short period of time? Maybe say 10 days to 1 month or 2 months. Then I invest in something called as liquid funds, which is like a money market instrument. If you have a horizon, say I want to invest for 1 to 3 years, something like a fixed deposit, then you invest in debt mutual funds. And if you have a horizon that I want to invest for 4 or 5 years and a mix of debt and equity, then you have something called as a balanced fund, which is a mix of debt and equity. And if you want to invest for long term, then there's a call of equity mutual fund.
All right. And investing is kind of like going on a diet. You have to pick and choose what you consume to have, the desired results. So from that perspective, when it comes to investing, how do you, in a fund, how do you gauge the quality of a fund? What should be the parameters for someone to look at when they look at, the various options which are available to them when it comes to investing in funds?
What you can do is you can either go to an advisor who can have the potential to see what are the schemes which are going to be contemporary for 3 years. How does Anand Rathi do it? That's what I can describe, is that there is a subject called regression, which helps you predict the future better than the past. Okay, not perfectly, but it is called statistical astrology. It draws trend lines. So if you're choosing on the basis of regression, then you will be better off. Now, where do you get access to this information? Media definitely gives you information which is far, far better than doing your homework yourself. So you can look at Money Control, you can look at TV18 and get this advice for free. Or the other alternative is go to Money Control, go to Value Research and see which are the 5-star funds. Because if there are 400 odd funds, 5-star funds would be a very few, 50, 70 of them. If you chose from those, that could be another method which is a little more static than being more involved.
All right, and looking at it from the mix perspective, as the amount of options that you have, what's the sort of right mix to have when it comes to funds? What sort of advice would you give them? Because a lot of people might be thinking, should I go for an actively managed fund or should I just go for an index fund?
Active fund is basically where the fund manager takes a call that where to invest in, and passive managed fund is basically the fund manager just buys a already defined calculated index. So he buys stocks exactly what they're in the index. So here the fund manager do not uses his ability to pick up stocks. Now, why passive managed fund are considered better than active managed fund in one parlance, which is called as the expense ratio. So when you have to buy a passive managed fund, the expense ratio, the management fee is lower than the active managed fund, because here the fund manager is not using his own expertise, he's just buying the index. But if I look at from India's parlance, okay, if I look at last 15-20 years, after paying the slightly more expense ratio, the fund manager is able to beat the benchmark. So because here the information asymmetric is slightly higher than as compared to developed markets. So fund manager, after doing his research, after having a good amount of team, after analyzing stocks, they are able to pick up stocks which are slightly better, maybe outperforming the index. So if we look at last 15 years, the active managed fund, if I take a longer time frame, they have outperformed the passive managed fund.
Welcome back to NSE Finwiz Season 6, powered by CNBC TV18. We are at the headquarters of Praj Industries here in Pune. And let's get right to our topic of this episode, which is investing in equities, the risks versus the long-term benefits. So let's start with gauging risk. How do folks gauge the amount of risk that they are comfortable with, and also gauge the risk which, say, a particular fund brings to the table?
So let me first explain what do you mean by risk. So risk basically mean what you expect and what actually happen, there will be a difference. Now if the difference is higher, we say it's a higher risk. If the difference is lower, we say it's a lower risk. So when we talk about FDs, what we expect is that we'll get say 8% and we get 8%, so there's no risk in that. When we talk about risk in equity, I expect 12%, I may get 15% also, or I may get minus 5% also. So that's what we mean by risk. Now what happens in risk in that in the short period of time, right? When you're investing in equities, the risk is higher basically because markets in the short term are far more volatile, right? So if your expectation is that I will get 12% year on year, right? So it may happen that you may get 15% the first year, minus 5% the second year, and so on and so forth. But as you increase your time frame, right? If you look at, as Finwiz rightly say, that if you have a 10-year time frame, then the risk in equity keeps on coming down, because in a 10-year time frame, at some time you'll get higher return than 12%, and sometimes you will get lower than 12%, and on an average you will end up what we expect. So risk all depends on your time frame. If you have a very, very short time frame, you need to invest in lower risk asset. If you have a longer time frame, then only can look at higher risky assets.
Speaking of risk, when we look at debt funds, it's relatively less risk prone versus equity funds. But recently, you've got lots of news coming in which has made a lot of people wonder about, the prospects when it comes to debt funds. So anything you'd like to clarify on that point, on the risk factor when it comes to debt funds?
So specifically talking about debt funds, so debt funds carry two types of risk. One is called as the interest rate risk, that if RBI increases the interest rate, the bond price comes down. Right? So that's one type of risk called as duration risk. And the second risk which debt fund carries is called as credit risk. So what does debt fund does is that they take money from you and they go and lend to corporates. So if you are given money for 5 years and I take a paper which is of 10 years, and if RBI increases the interest rate, my bond price comes down. So that's one risk which I carry, that the amount which I bought the bond maybe is lower right now. The second primary, which is the recent phenomenon, is called as credit risk. That I lend the money to a corporate. Now the corporate either is now not able to refund back my money. So when I lend money to someone, he has to repay back money to me. That's the risk. So that's called as credit risk. How do you manage interest rate risk? You invest in a fund which exactly invest in paper which are with your time frame. So if you want to invest for 1 year or 2 years, select a fund which also invests in 1 to 2 year paper. So then you manage your interest rate risk. So how do you manage credit risk? Is that you invest in funds which are got a very, very high quality papers. So which you invest in AAA, AA plus papers. And if you want to take a credit risk, when you take a credit risk, you get a higher interest also. Then you can select funds which are single A, AA and so on and so forth. So basically you have to look at both the factors, match your investment horizon with the fund average maturity. That will how you manage your interest rate risk. On the credit risk, select paper which are slightly good quality papers which are AAA and above, AAA and equivalent. You invest in those funds.
And on that note, I guess we could take a few questions from the audience on this topic that we have been discussing on investing in equities, the long-term benefits versus the risk. So I'll be calling out a few names. Sandeep Bhalerao, if you could get up.
Every business or every industry has a business cycle. And, when we invest, we see that there are opportunities when the industries are going, we invest during that time. But, how will we come to know what is that business cycle, when the industry will go down and when should I exit from my investment? So the exit time from the investment, how to identify, that is the question.
So if you are doing direct stock investing, right? So you look at both the things. One is the industry, how the industry is shaping up, and how the individual companies are shaping up, right? And then that's why you need to do detailed research on how the industry is playing, how the stock is behaving, how the company is behaving, and based on that, what's the change in the trend, and then you have to get in or get out from the stock. So when it comes to direct stock investing, the amount of effort which will be far higher. When it comes to if you don't want to do that whole task and want to outsource this work, then you can invest in a diversified equity fund. So in a diversified equity fund, there's a fund manager who have a team of say 20 to 40 analysts, and every analyst looks after one sector. So there will be a pharma analyst, there will be IT analyst, there will be FMCG analyst. So then they look at broader picture and then say what is the trend from the overall industry perspective, which sectors likely to do better, and accordingly they will increase their weight in that sector and decrease the weight in other sector.
All right. Thank you so much for asking your question. And on that note, we'll take another short break. When we return, the floor will be open to the employees here at Praj Industries to ask any questions that they have to our financial planning experts. And of course, stay tuned and you can stay updated with us on our website, nsefinwiz.com, and of course, connect with us on our Facebook and Twitter handles at NSE Finwiz. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to NSE Finwiz Season 6 powered by CNBC TV 18. Time now to open the floor to the audience to ask any questions that they have to our financial planning experts. So let's see a show of hands. Who has a question to ask for our experts? You, sir.
In financial planning, when I have discussed, people say that what goals you have. So if it's a goal of 5 years and if it's a goal of say 15 years, then the strategy will be different. But we know everybody that the market we cannot predict. So how, because I don't have that knowledge of market or whatever, so I believe on somebody and he takes care of my investment. And he tells me, okay, if 5 years is your short-term goal, then do in this, like banking, now for 3 years in banking, then change, I'll switch over. So those things are done by the fund manager, whoever manages your fund.
Okay.
But if nobody can tell what market is going to be, then how these decisions, I should believe that those decisions are going to fetch me the results what I expect or maximize the results.
Okay. Feroz, you want to take this? How exactly to go about it?
Of course, what happens is, firstly you have to be clear who is a fund manager, who is a wealth manager. So that nomenclature has to be very clear. Fund manager is that person who manages the money inside a mutual fund. What you might be referring to is a wealth manager. So that we have clarity, and once you have clarity, then you can define their roles and then see their capability to do that role, right? So wealth manager's job is to give you a strategy to achieve your objective. And the strategy has to be, in my opinion, if you have to look at strategy, your strategy will have one element is what is my asset allocation, right? Kitna equity mein jayega, kitna debt mein jayega, kitna gold mein jayega, agarche jayega. So that's one element of strategy. So whenever you are taking a piece of advice, you will have to categorize it into what component of strategy it is, right? If it is an asset allocation strategy, saying that, yeah, because you are a 5-year goal, you have a 5-year goal, I'm putting 70% in debt. Now that's an asset allocation advice he or she is giving you, right? So that's a very important piece of advice. And then you will have to ask for the rationale of why you're saying so. And there you will have to do your own homework. So this will require intense involvement from your side as well. Once you put the strategy, then you don't have to worry saying that these are the things I do, these are the things I don't do. Then the wealth manager should know. Otherwise, he will keep giving you products after product, which might be a wrong strategy.
Thank you so much for asking a question. Let's see some hands there.
I am Dilip Bagre, working as a senior GM in engineering. My question is related to the mutual fund SIPs.
Okay.
Last 10 to 15 years, I am investing in SIPs.
Right.
All class, that large cap, small cap, mid cap, diversified.
Okay.
But last 3-4 years, the small and mid cap equities, they were giving me a very good return around 20 to 25%.
Okay.
But in the falling market, they have taken a very big hit.
Right.
And they are giving a single digit now.
Okay.
So my question is whether to invest in small and mid cap is a wrong decision with respect to the diversified and large cap?
So in last 1 year, broadly the mid and small cap would have fallen by 20%, mid cap would have fallen by 15%, and large cap would be either flat or up by 3 to 4%, right? So based on that, obviously the fund performance has changed over a period of time. But if you have a long horizon, right, if you are looking for investing in all the three assets from a 15 to 20 year perspective, in a long term, small cap fund tend to outperform the mid cap fund, and mid cap fund tend to outperform the large cap fund from a pure return perspective. But obviously the volatility will be higher in small cap as compared to mid cap and compared to large cap. So the idea is that when you're investing in this three category of fund, first we have a longer horizon, right? And from a volatility perspective, the small cap and mid cap will be more volatile than a large cap fund. But again, if you have a very short period of time, if you're looking at next 3 to 5 year perspective, 3 to 4 year perspective, then I'd say that obviously you need to manage your risk. You need to decide your asset allocation. If you're then again you have to so that how much of your 100 rupee is invested in various buckets. So if you're out of 100 rupees, 60-70% is in mid and small cap, then you need to change your asset allocation. If you have a very short period of time, but if you still have a 15 to 20 year time frame and you are willing to bear that volatility and have patience to stay invested, then I'm saying this small and mid cap fund should be able to outperform the large cap fund if you have a longer time frame. But again, you need to divide your money across various buckets. You need to see how much you need to invest in large cap, mid and small cap. But again, as I told you, when you're investing in this three fund, the volatility will always be higher in mid and small cap fund as compared to large cap fund.
Time's up on this episode. It's been an interesting exchange of ideas, and of course the topic has been on investing in equities, risks versus long-term benefits. I'd like to thank the audience here for asking the questions, and of course to our financial planning experts for answering them. And thank you to our viewers for tuning in. Remember, you can stay updated with us at nsefinwiz.com, and of course connect with us on our Facebook and Twitter handles at NSE Finwiz. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back with another episode.
Yeah, basically today's event is really very informative, and basically it becomes an eye-opener for me. So earlier I don't used to do investment for a long term, but now I realize it is really required to have a long term investment, and also it gives me a proper insight to choose the proper investment tool wherein I can get good results.
First, I was making some saving my money in accounts like in a banks, but after this session, I would definitely try to invest my money in mutual funds as well as some equity markets.
I have been investing for quite some years now, whether it is the equity or the debt market. I had never understood the Altman number or the Z factor, which was very new. Ratings or Chrysler ratings were not new. So the one major change I would start doing is changing from just an investment to a wealth creation portfolio based now on the Z factor. So it would give me more of a conscious decision, choice and option.
Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.